Jeremy J.J. Finch has announced a verbal commitment to the Alabama Crimson Tide, joining the 2026 recruiting class. Most recruiting sites have Finch rated as a 3-star recruit at the moment, but it is subjected to change. Like a lot of these 3-star prospects, they will have an opportunity to improve their recruiting stock in terms of their rating during their senior season. Specifically, guys in the 2026 recruiting class, I kind of put Finch in that conversation. He's a guy who officially visited Alabama during the month of June when he got on campus for an official visit to Tuscaloosa. He shared that the Crimson Tide were high on this recruitment after he got on campus for that official visit, telling me in his own words that the Crimson Tide were high in this recruitment, saying that he feels that the biggest takeaway was that the standard at Alabama, basically hearing what Alabama's coaches were telling him, hearing what the players were telling him, and understanding that there is a standard, there is an expectation in Tuscaloosa, which you guys being Alabama fans, you are very well aware of that fact. And when he went on to talk about his relationship with the Crimson Tide, saying he feels that he has a good relationship with Alabama and they both have a great understanding of what they both want. I think that quote where he says they both have a great understanding of what one another wants, I think that really paints the picture of how much of a fit Finch is in his 4-2-5 Kane Womack defense in terms of the defensive lineman that they are consistently going after. I'll talk a little bit about Finch's game now. When you talk about a guy who 6'3", around 270 pounds, he's an athletic, big defensive lineman who can play just different positions across that defensive front. I think Alabama want defensive linemen who can play all across the defensive front. They don't need a specific guy who's going to be a nose tackle, a defensive tackle, or a bandit. They play the bandit role. They want a guy who can play all across that defensive front. And I think Finch just dives right into that fit. Like guys like who are currently on Alabama's roster, like Jordan Renaud, like a James Smith. You can put LT Overton, Jamarian Latham even in the conversation, although he can play a little bit of Wolf. So many members of the Crimson Tide's current roster, Kelby Collins as well, can play multiple positions along the defensive front. I put J.J. Finch right into that conversation. I take a look at his film. I think he's a guy who has an explosive first step. Probably the biggest thing that stands out to me about Finch, at least in my opinion, I think his ability to turn speed into power and how strong he is at the point of attack. You're going to see him take that quick first step a lot of times. You're going to see him be able to use that momentum that he basically garners from that first step, and you're going to see him immediately turn it into power. I'm going to wait until a play where that kind of happens. That play right there is a good example where he has a good get off, and he turns that get off and use that momentum and turns it into power. But he also have active hands. You're going to see that on display as well. So you're going to see him win in a lot of different ways in terms of him getting after the quarterback or defending against the run. Like I said, he's a physical guy who can be really strong at the point of attack as well. I think he plays in space decent for a guy who's supposed to be 6'3", 270 pounds. So you're going to see at times he's going to like drop back and like catch like a interception of some sort on this particular play. You're going to see him do that as well. So he's very long to go along with that. Athleticism that he brings to the table. So him joining the Crimson Tide at a critical and a priority position, because the defensive line is just going to be one of those positions probably in every recruiting class. And as you guys know, Alabama fans know, I've talked about this a lot of times when I'm breaking down and evaluating the Crimson Tide. I think that it's a position where Alabama hasn't been as dominant as they have been when they dominated college football. They haven't been as dominant on the defensive side of football in terms of in the trenches as they were when they were producing guys like Quentin Williams, like a Deron Payne, producing those guys year in and year out. The Crimson Tide haven't been playing to that standard in recent football seasons. So you're going to need a guy like J.J. Finch who possibly could put you into that conversation. Some of the other guys the Crimson Tide are targeting are in that conversation as well. So the Crimson Tide picking up a commitment from J.J. Finch, in my mind, is a significant move for the Crimson Tide here in this 2026 recruiting class. As always, I am Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting and Managing Editor here at Touchdown Alabama. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Subscribe to the notification bell, be notified when we drop content.